I was just like, I got scammed. I got scammed, and all the money that I had saved up pretty much wiped all my saving accounts to give it to him.
I get up, time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste.
Hi guys, so welcome back to another episode of the Afro Boss Lady Show. This is your host Jenny. So the setup is different because I'm actually in my bedroom on the bed. So basically, this is gonna be a story time, by the way. I mean, the titles already says that, right? So today I shot a Q&A. I had asked many people on Instagram to send me the questions, what they would like for me to answer. And one of the questions, actually, I did not even mention it on the Q&A video that I shot today. And the video is going to be up next week, so wait for it. But basically, one of the questions was really personal. The person talked about, the person was basically asking me about setbacks that I had in my business in terms of relationships. Like, did I get into a relationship that kind of like put me a bit behind in terms of my businesses and things like that? So anyway, so I wanted to go ahead and tell you the juice, the gist, of what had happened to me. I just remembered, I was reading that question today and I was just like, wow. Like, I was just like, wow. So I figured, why not go a little bit personal so that maybe my story can inspire some of you who are, going into relationship thinking that maybe this one is really going to uplift you, and instead the relationship is there to break you. But yeah, let's get started. This is how the story went down. So we in 2016, right? This is how everything started. So 2016, okay, let's rewind, because I have to tell you exactly how we met, how I got to know him first. And yeah, so this is actually somebody that I went to high school with back in the days when I was in Cameroon, because I did high school in Cameroon. I think I was like a senior in high school when we met. So we're just like classmates, and we used to have a crush on each other. So basically that's how we met. We're never like girlfriend, boyfriend. So I left Cameroon after, because I had my high school degree. Then I went to university while I was actually planning to travel. Fast forward, I think after high school, I went to university for a couple of months. Then eventually I moved to the US. And I think he must have moved to Germany. I'm not sure exactly what year, but I think shortly after I left, he also moved to Germany. So basically, he was living in Germany, going to school. I don't even know if that was true, but he was going to school to be an engineer. I think electrical. Yeah, he was doing electrical engineering, according to what he told me, right? And at the time, I went to university in the US and I was doing accounting. So we used to talk once in a while, really. It was just that type of friendship that you have a friend somewhere, and this guy that you always had a crush on, and he had a crush on you, but you guys never dared to date each other. So at some point after I graduated from university, I started working. We used to call each other more often. More often would be like maybe once every 3 months. So it wasn't that often. So we call each other, and he used to tell me, we had this thing that if we don't end up in long-lasting relationship, like if we don't find our partners, our spouse, we just gonna end up marrying each other. So it used to be, like an inside joke that if I don't find somebody, he doesn't find somebody, we'll just end up marrying each other. Because we knew we had that type of friendship. He was a good person. Back then, he was a good person. So fast forward to 2016, right? We kept a decent, good relationship. We used to share a lot of struggles that we had, you know, that each of us had. So fast forward 2016 comes, and one of my friend, right, so she goes to Cameroon, and she meets him in Cameroon, right? I think it was like December, 2015. Yeah, December 2015, my girlfriend goes to Cameroon, and she sees him in Cameroon, and she calls me and tells me, hey, I saw, let's call him X, right? I saw X, and he's been asking about you, he's talking about you. Have you guys been talking lately? Because he seems like he's quite interested in you. And I'm just like, oh, because I haven't talked to him at this point. I haven't talked to him for like a long time, like maybe like 6 months last time that I talked to him. So she kept on, calling me here and there, telling me about how she saw him, and every time she would see him, he would always talk about me. And she basically told me that she feels like the guy is ready, he wants to settle down, and she feels like this is the time, and I have a crush on him, he has a crush on me, so we should try to be together. So anyway, so at this point, this is December 2015, we've been talking. He started calling basically. So he started calling after my friend had, she told me about him, whatever. So we started calling each other more and more. Basically just talking about the good old days, how we used to go to high school and all of these things. What have I been up to? What has he been up to? In January 2016, so at this point, he's telling me that he's in Cameroon, and he's been there for over 2 months, because we already like January 2016. He's been there for like 2 months already. So I started asking him questions like, what are you doing in Cameroon? Don't you have anything else to do? Aren't you supposed to go back to Germany because you have a job, right? Like if you're an engineer, you have a job, you're supposed to go back to work. And he started going on with the story of his dad being sick and how he came to Cameroon on vacation / business, and that he will eventually go back. So we get to March 2016. Then the guy started telling me how the dad condition got worse, and he's getting to the point where he's going to be admitted in the hospital. The dad has to get an emergency surgery, and the money that he has in Cameroon is not going to be enough, because the surgery is actually a lot of money. We're talking about, like millions and millions of francs CFAs. Like, I wasn't sure exactly the number, but I remember he made it sound like it was going to cost maybe like more than 10 million francs CFA, which is like more than $20,000. He started selling me the story about how he wants to settle down, how we need to basically think about, breeding a family because his dad is about to die, and he's always had a crush on me. He feels that we can be together. So just keep in mind that this is the year that I decided I was going to invest into really having a business, 2016. So long story short, I started saving money. This is the year that I actually started saving money, because I knew that I wanted to launch my first business, and I wanted to go ahead and travel and meet different suppliers. So long story short, the more we started talking, we really started connecting. And then at some point, he said he was going to travel here, and he wanted to be able to see me so that we can really officialize our relationship. So that's why the title says boyfriend, but I don't even know if you would call that boyfriend, because we've never been intimate. We've never, you can call that boyfriend. You don't have to be intimate with somebody. So at that time in my life, I'm really going through this phase where I'm like, I don't want to have a relationship for the sake of having a relationship. I really want a real relationship. I don't want to have somebody who's just gonna want to be intimate with me. So I was really celibate. And I was thinking, whoever I'm gonna end up with, whoever I'm gonna marry, we have to accept that I'm celibate, right? Celibate, for some of you who don't know, means that I wasn't gonna have any sexual relationship with nobody. So we basically talked about this, the celibacy, and he really seemed to agree. And he told me that he also feels the same way. He wanted something real, and he wanted something where he felt like it wasn't just sexual, right? Like he wanted us to connect on a spiritual level, really, like, get to know each other without, the element of sex. So anyway, long story short, we kept on talking, we kept on getting closer. Keep in mind that we're really getting closer from a distance, right? At that time, he was still in Cameroon, talking about he's doing business and his dad is sick, so he's assisting his dad. And I'm in the US working, and at the same time, like working on my business, like, the logistics. I think it was March, towards the end of March 2016. He then tells me, because keep in mind, we've been talking consistently, almost daily, since December 2015. So by March 2016, we started talking about marriage, right? Because he felt like, you know what, we get along, we've always gotten along. You come from a good family, I come from a decent family, so I think we should just make it happen. I'm in Cameroon, so maybe I should do the first step and and talk to my parents about possibly marrying you. So I'm like, okay, cool, and I felt like he was really rushing into the whole marriage thing because he felt like his dad was about to, he may not have made it. So I mean, that's the impression that he gave me, that his dad was really in between life and death, and he wanted to make his dad proud. He wanted to make a decision that he knows will give his dad another boost, right? Like it will motivate him to actually live longer. So, and one of the dad's dream was really to see him, like his son, getting married. So long story short, I started talking to my sisters, basically telling my sisters that I feel like this relationship may actually work. We need to see each other, because the plan was to see each other in June 2016. That was the time that we had, that's the time frame, the schedule that we had, that I will be available for my job and he will be available as well. So we were supposed to see each other June 2016. So I started, talking to my sisters, my friends, basically telling them, this is what's happening. I've been talking to this girlfriend of mine. We've met each other forever. We went to high school together. And he seems like a good person. And we've been talking, catching up once in a while. And he seems like a good person. And we've been consistently talking since December. I also had a conversation with my mom just so she wouldn't be surprised. Because I felt like it's one thing to tell your parents you're getting married. It's another to just randomly pull a guy from out of nowhere and tell your parents, yep, I'm getting married with him. So we really had a schedule. So we figured that if we meet each other by June, then a little bit, like couple months after June, we should be able to officialize our relationship and everything. So comes April 2016, right? Comes April 2016, this guy basically start like freaking out about his dad about to die. His dad wants to talk to me and so forth, but anytime he would say his dad want to talk to me, the dad will never be available, right? So I'm thinking to myself, of course the dad is sick, he's not feeling well, and yeah, so I'm not even overthinking this thing. And comes now the part where the dad has to get a surgery, right? Because according to him, the dad had hepatitis C. So so basically it was one of those things that in Cameroon they don't treat it well, and that he needed to get an emergency surgery. And according to him, he did not have access to his German's bank account, and he wasn't, I mean, the timing, like he couldn't go to Germany, get the money and come back. So he really was calling, whether it's my friend who had hooked us up together, he was calling my friend, he was calling other friends that we all knew, like, the people that we went to school with. He would really reach out to everybody, like, please help me out. My dad is in a really critical condition and I need help. So he would contact different people. And I was aware that he was contacting different people, because my friend, for example, would contact me and she would tell me that, hey, did he call you? Because he told me about his dad. So I started feeling bad, right? Because I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm planning to open my company. I'm saving up some money already. And this guy is talking to me about his dad. And if he's really somebody that I feel like I really can see my life with in the future, maybe I should, the thing that I can do is to help him financially. But even at that point, right, I'm still not really helping him financially, because I'm like, I don't know. Like, I'm really debating, because a part of me, because you can tell the red flag. So a part of me was thinking, that doesn't make sense. This guy has been in Cameroon for 4 months, 5 months, and I mean, like, it just didn't make sense to me. Why somebody who pretend to be an electrical engineer in Germany would be in Cameroon for 5 months, and his job would just be waiting on him, and then he wouldn't have enough money to pay for his dad. Like, the whole thing was just like, okay. And I know he has family members, like siblings, uncles, all of these. So the whole thing didn't make sense to me, because I felt like there are so many people in his family that he's not the only one taking care of the bills, right? So I was really debating. I was on and off in terms of, like, should I help you financially or not. And keep in mind that I've never ever, had to, like, bail out a man from a situation, because I've never been in that position. So long story short, one day, because one of my coworker, I used to be close to that coworker of mine, so we had this conversation, and I basically told my coworker what was happening, and this guy is really going through a tough time, and his dad's situation ABCG. So my coworker, which is a male coworker, who then tells me, if that's really somebody that you love, somebody that you see yourself being in a relationship with, somebody that you've been talking to for 6 months, and you guys have been planning relationship, I think you should really consider helping him out. Because just put yourself in his position, would he be willing to help you out? And then I was just like, okay, I think he should have been, I mean, this is me thinking of the men that he used to be before, right? Because before, he was such a good friend to me. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, that makes sense. My coworker is making some sense. If that was me, I believe that he would have, helped me out. So at this point, I'm like, okay, how much? So after that, I then talked to my sisters. One of my sisters told me the same thing. She said, if it was dad who was in that situation, and then you were entertaining somebody, and that somebody knew that your dad was dealing with that, do you think he would have helped you out? And then I said, I think so. Because I did believe that he was such a good guy. I mean, because back in the days, he was such a good boy, right? So I still believe that he was such a good guy. So my sister then tells me, I think somehow, somewhere, just help him out. So I called the guy. Then I'm like, okay, if your dad is dealing with ABCG, I think I can help you out financially. I may not be able to raise the entire 20,000, but I should help you out with a couple of thousands. So basically, he was like, oh, thank you so much. I'm going to return the money to you. Just give me like two weeks, because I have an aunt who's coming from Germany, and she's going to come with the money for my bank, because I had given her access to ABCG. So he's talking a lot of talk, right? Long story short, I think within like 2 days after that conversation, I forwarded him the payment. I think I did it through MoneyGram. And through MoneyGram, you cannot really send huge amount of money all at once. So I think I made like 2 different transfers. And when I say huge, it wasn't that huge. It wasn't more than $10,000 for sure. But I basically just forwarded him the money through like MoneyGram. I did like two payments, right? Like 2 transfers. The first thing that he did was of course he took the money, and he just went silent. Nothing. Okay? I waited for 1 day, because I was like, okay, maybe it's an emergency, surgery, and he didn't have time to say thank you. you never know, right? So I'm just thinking to myself, okay, I'm just gonna wait. Then the following day, nothing. I'm like, okay, this is weird. So I texted him. I was like, are you okay? I just want to make sure that you got the money. He was like, oh yeah, yes, I forgot to tell you because I've been. And keep in mind, guys, this is what made it even believable, because this guy would call me from a place where, I mean, this is what he would do, right? Let me just use this phone. So basically, he would call me and he would pretend that he's talking to a doctor. So he would be like this, yeah, Jenny, oh, thank you so much for the, oh, please give me a second. No, doctor, please, my dad has to get this surgery. Okay, Jenny, I'm so sorry, but can I call you back because I'm in the hospital, I'm going. Not, guys, that's how he used to call me. So he made it look like he was having a conversation with hospitals personnel, like a nurse, the doctor, whoever, so every time I would call for the next couple of days, that's how he would act. At some point he would actually video, like he would video call me. Like the guy would video call me from a hospital, and he would be talking about, I'm actually here, they still don't want to do the surgery because the money is not enough. So basically this is what I was going through, and I'm feeling bad for him. And I'm sharing the story with my sister, I'm sharing the story with my coworker that I used to talk to, and everybody's just like, I hope he's gonna be good. People are concerned. I'm even calling my friends, like the common friends that we have. So I'm calling them to let them know, hey, did you hear about him, blah blah blah. So the whole story looked legit, right? That this guy in Cameroon was dealing with his dad being in some critical situations. So the story continues where he basically just told me that the dad has had the surgery and everything is looking okay, right? This is like 2 weeks after I had sent him the money, right? Keep in mind that he had told me that his aunt was going to come within like a week and he would be able to send me the money back, right? So 2 weeks after the dad get the surgery, everything is fine. So even at that time, I'm still not asking him for the money, because I'm thinking to myself, okay, he's gonna give it back. He just went through a lot, so he's gonna give it back. And I'm talking to my girlfriend, right, the common girlfriend that we have, and she's basically telling me the same thing, that don't worry, he's gonna get you the money. He's just going through a lot. So okay, at this point, all of us are thinking whatever happened is the truth. Then comes June, he tells me he's gonna go back to Germany. This is like, just all of this thing happened in April. So we went through April, May. He's not giving me the money, and at the same time, I'm not, I'm asking, but I'm not really asking. Like, I'm just asking, like, hey, don't forget to ABCG, and he always has an excuse. He's always telling me that his aunt came, that she didn't really bring the full amount, but he's gonna go back to Germany and he's gonna eventually transfer me the money. So comes June, the guy actually tells me that he went back to Germany. He started calling me from some German number, just to find out later on that he was never in Germany. That's another story. So basically he would call me from Germany, and just to okay, guys, this man, as soon as he went to Germany, it didn't even last 2 days. This guy went on a roller coaster of stories. He started telling me how his car got broken in. They broke the windshield, the windows, the doors, they removed the tires. His apartment got flooded. How he needed to move out from his apartment. He was going through a lot of things. And he was just going on, like, every single day. This guy would just call me and talk to me about how bad his situation was, how he went to the bank and then found out that somebody withdrew the money from his account. I mean, that, like, the stories were just ongoing and ongoing and ongoing. Then at some point, he started making up stories to the point where it was just exhausting for me. Like, every time I would talk to him, I would just be like, what again, right? So he started talking about how he's going through a tough time, and that technically, as somebody who loves him, I should have been able to help him financially, knowing that he's gonna refund me the money. That's when everything went down, because that's when I realized that, oh, so you don't have my money that I sent you for your dad. Then you come to Germany and you tell me about all the issues that you have, your car, your bank account got forced or somebody withdrew the money, your house, your apartment got flooded and you have to move. And so it was just one thing after the next, guys. Just so, and I think most of the people who are like that, they always have one issue after the next. They tell you one thing. It's just to prepare you and to tell you that I need help. And because I wasn't saying anything, he figured he would just tell me that, if you cared about me, you would have helped me out. And at this point, I'm just like pissed, because I'm like, first of all, you never refunded me the money that I gave you for your dad's surgery. Second of all, like, you have, hey, arms, you have legs, you have a degree, and you should be able to go back to work and earn that money so that you can afford all these things. Then he tells me that even his job laid him off. So at this point, guys, I'm just like, okay. So on the regular, I remember that time he was calling, I wouldn't even pick up the phone, because at this point I'm thinking, this is a joke. Like, this is truly a joke. I remember once he called me one time, I think it was still June. He called me and then he was basically going on about how life is tough, and I just had it up to here, and I basically told him, hey, stop whining. I cannot, like, I can't deal with people who whine and they are not doing anything, any actions. And I was telling him how I was having the longest days ever. I'm working hard, and he's just there complaining and whining and all of these things. And I was like, this is not me. Like, this is not my life. This is not how we're going to be able to do it. Like, I need a man who is going to be like, let me take the wheel. So basically, long story short, I did not give him a dime, because at this point I'm already pissed that the money that I had given him is probably not coming back. So then I called my friend. I'm like, don't you think this is odd? Like, I've been having this feeling that this guy is fake, like he's making up all of these stories. He went from making up stories in Cameroon, and then now he's making up stories in Germany. So basically the month of June was just bad, right? And I'm just like, okay, I can't deal with him, because it's just too much. He's complaining a lot, he's whining a lot, and I just felt like something was wrong. And when your gut is telling you something is wrong, you best believe that something is wrong. So I started pressuring him more to refund me the money that I had given him. And I told him that I needed the money for some things and blah, blah, blah. And he was always making an excuse. Oh, I'm going to send you the money next week. I'm going to send you the money the week after, and so forth. And the money never came. Then, I remember one day I just woke up. I was like, did he ever really, did he ever go to school? Like, to university, to the point where he graduated? Because I've never seen his graduation pictures, and this is somebody who's always on social media. I mean, back then he was always on Facebook. So I then called some of the friends that we have in common, and I'm asking, like, do you know if this guy graduated? Everybody doesn't know. Like, oh, he went to school, but we don't know if he actually graduated. So one day I was like, okay, let me just talk to him straight up. So I talked to him straight up. I was like, hey, I've never seen your graduation pictures. Can you please send me your graduation pictures? Because I just wanted to see how you look when you graduated. He basically told me that he never went on his graduations. Like, he never walked. And I know not everybody goes to the graduations, because when you graduate, you already graduate. So at this point, I'm also like, okay. Then I tell him, I'm like, oh, can you send me like a picture of your degrees, even though it's not, even though it's blurred or whatever, who cares? Just so I can just see what it looks like, the German degrees. So I made it, so I was just asking, I was just pretending to be curious about, his degrees or whatever. Then it was just one story after the next, right? So long story short, the guy never graduated from university. Something must have happened when he went to school back then, and he never graduated. So the job that he pretended that he never had a job. He was never an electrical engineer. And the money that he was pretending that he was making in Germany was actually money that he made off of women who were wealthy. Okay. So all of this information I'm finding out like a few months after, right? Because like early July, I quit talking to him because I had it up to here. I was okay, this guy's story is really legit fake. Like I don't think the guy had like something somewhere. I mean, from the time that he was asking for the money for his dad, I started questioning a lot of things. Why is he in Cameroon if he has a job in Germany and all of these things? But you know, you talk to people and they start convincing you that if you really truly like or love this person, you should be able to help them because they would have done it for you. This is gonna be a long story, but basically, fast forward September 2016. I'm still waiting for the money and I don't see the money. At this point, I'm like, okay, this is really weird. Then the thing that actually kills it is when my girlfriend calls me, the same girlfriend that had seen him the year before. When she calls me and she tells me, OMG, her mom talked to another lady who is in that same neighborhood that the guy parents live. So basically the mom is telling my friend, oh, I heard that your friend Mr. X got deported last year. So that's why he's been in Cameroon all this time, because the guy was actually deported from Germany. This is September, guys. So I'm just like, excuse me? And then I'm like, but he was in Germany recently in June. He told me about his car getting broken into. He told me about his apartment getting flooded, his bank account, all of these things. And then she was like, he was in Germany? Like, he called you with which number? I say a plus, I mean, he put like plus 49. And then she was like, oh, I don't know how he did it, but he was never in Germany. He never left Cameroon. He's been in Cameroon all this time. He's still in Cameroon all this time. If this is not when you start going nuts, I mean, come on, guys. Like, I remember that time I was just like, OMG. Because you can already tell what happened. So this is somebody that you know for a fact really scammed you. I mean, it wasn't even like, like at that moment when my friend told me he was deported last year, and apparently it looks like that's why he's been in Cameroon all this time, I was just like, I got scammed. I got scammed, and all the money that I had saved up, the money that I had given to him, I pretty much, this is what I did. I pretty much wiped all my saving accounts to give it to him just because of his dad's situationship, and thinking that this guy had so much money because he was pretending to have a business in Cameroon, he was pretending to be an engineer in Germany, and you're thinking to yourself, okay, you know. And one other thing that happened is that he used to send me pictures of a house back in Cameroon that he pretended that this is his house that he's building. So it was basically a house that it was still under construction. And he would send me, you know, pictures and videos like, hey, I'm building this house in this neighborhood. It would be cool for you when you come to Cameroon. It would be cool for you to come and actually do the interior design. This guy had nothing. When I say nothing, he had nothing. So this is really how I got scammed. I don't want to make this video super duper long, even though it's already long, but this is really how I got scammed. And then on top of that, as if that wasn't enough, couple years after, he scammed another person, and right now as I'm speaking to you, he's in jail. So yeah, I've never had to be in this situation before. And I don't know, for some reason, you get into the point where, I mean, when somebody can play with your, you know, with your psychology, and they can play with the fact that you've known each other for so long, you trust him, because everybody around me trusted him. Everybody around me knew that he was a good guy, you know. Everybody around me knew that he was honest. So there was no sign of us even, like having some type of doubt about him being a good person. But eventually it turns out that he was a scammer, and he has done it to me, and before he has done it to other people. I mean, he scammed things in Germany to the point where he got deported. And years after he scammed me, I think it was like a year or two after he scammed me, he also scammed another friend of ours. And also on Facebook, there's a lot of posts going on Facebook. I mean, that was going on Facebook about him being a scammer, and people should be, careful about him and things like that. So this is some of the things that some people experience. And I never knew, if you told me in a million years that I was going to experience that, I was going to say, oh, me, never. One of the red flags that I would tell you that I saw was every time he would talk to me, he would always talk about investing. He would talk about how, oh, Jenny, it would be good if we invest in such and such thing. Maybe it's something that you should look into, because I believe that, I mean, anytime he would talk about investing, he will always target my money. It was never his money, right? It was always, we should be investing, but since I'm dealing with ABCG, I think you should take your money and invest for us. It was always that. Another red flags was really the way he pushed for a relationship and the way he pushed for marriage. He started talking marriage really fast. This is somebody that I haven't seen for years, but he started talking marriage like, I want to settle down. And he used the fact that the dad was in a critical condition to really play with my mind and talk to me about it would be nice to settle down, all of these things. Another thing that I also wanted to mention is that, guess what? His dad was never sick. His dad was fine. His dad was good. This is, and it was really heartbreaking. And I think the money part of it, right, was heartbreaking, because I felt like I worked so hard, and this is the year where I was like, okay, I need to put everything together in order for me to save money. And this is the same year that I was actually finishing up my MBA, because I had gone back to school years after I graduated from my bachelor. I had gone back to school for my MBA, and I was finishing up my MBA. So I used to work my 9 to 5 job. 8 to 5, because I used to work 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And at 6 p.m. I would go to school for my MBA, and I would come back around like 9 p.m., 10 p.m. And I was working super hard, guys. And then on the other end, I was really working on the logistics, like the first samples that I needed to make, I needed to manufacture, the logistic in terms of the paperwork for the company, all of these things. So that year was really heavy for me. And to have, quote unquote, a relationship, or somebody that you think would be a relationship, go south, and having that person that you trusted be the scammer was really heartbreaking. So anyway, that was the story. I hope you guys really enjoyed it. I wasn't gonna make it long, but it looks like it's gonna be super long. So if you guys stick to this end, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, and let me know if there's another topic that you guys want to see. But it's super late, so I'm gonna close this video, and I will talk to you guys later. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Bye.